The world faces peak gold according to Goldman Sachs, but one geologist who's discovered more than 30 million ounces of gold says he knows where to find America's hidden gold deposits. Featured on the History Channel's How the Earth Was Made, this expert gold finder could be on the verge of a massive gold strike. Even a billion-dollar gold giant has engaged this small market cap company to use their proprietary technology. For the thrill of gold discovery with a new edge in Nevada, visit futuremoneytrends.com/gold. Greetings and thank you for joining us at futuremoneytrends.com. I'm here with Bill Murphy, a founder of La Metropole Cafe and also chairman of Gouda. This is a group that has sued the Federal Reserve and won. This is a group really that kind of has led the entire, if you've ever heard anybody talk about gold manipulation or price suppression, it came from these guys, from Chris Powell and Bill Murphy. They were really the ones to really kind of lead the fight. And now a lot of people get it and a lot of people see it. With the precious metals starting to turn, I wanted to get Bill on the line, kind of see what's going on behind the scenes as well. Not just the things that we're seeing, as far as the price or what we're hearing from newsletter writers, but really get Bill's opinion on the pulse of the market, the behind the scenes retail, the traffic to websites like his own, like La Metropole Cafe. Bill, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, Grant, it's great to talk to you again. Thanks much for getting a hold of me.
Well, hey, let's start off with just the change in 2016. It seems that gold, in many ways, not just the physical metal, but even the mining shares are all finding buyers, and it's getting a little more difficult to keep these stocks and the physical bullion down. Are you also seeing a gust of wind behind the scenes? Is La Metropole Cafe seeing more traffic, or what are you hearing from bullion dealers?
Yeah, well, fortunately, after 4 or 5 years of business declining and people getting sick and tired of me being a negative Nelly and having to tell the truth the way it was, things have picked up since the beginning of the year noticeably, and that's the first time in a long time. So I'm sure it's happening to others too, and it's great to see after such a rough go for so long. But yeah, a lot of things are changing, and the essence of it, in my opinion, of course, I'm prejudiced. It has to do with God knows and why it's so important to follow what we've been covered over the years, and that gold and silver have been pushed to artificially low prices. The shares were pushed into oblivion, and we've all felt that this thing will blow up at some point when the gold cartels, we call the big banks and the U.S. government, begin to lose control of their price suppression schemes. And that means not being able to secure enough physical silver and physical gold. And it's a process. It's not an overnight thing to meet demand. And you're seeing the beginning of this right now. It's been this way this year, and especially this past week.
Yeah, with the geological shortage and discovery, I mean, I've seen some charts where they're spending more than ever and discovering less than ever. And then you've got the physical tightness out there. Is this the beginning of call it stage one, where the cartel is beginning to lose control just because of the supply and demand is actually starting to overwhelm the paper price manipulation?
That's exactly it to the T. And we've had some good moves right now, and it doesn't mean they're not going to attack again, but we've watched them do this for months, and we've talked about their end game scenario when they know this is coming to an end. I mean, what they did last fall, the intensity of selling on a day-to-day basis, October, November, and so on, was unbelievable. Silver down 15 days in a row. And they're losing, and it's really started to take effect this year. And you've had this move up, and there's not that much excitement. Nobody's super bullish. Do we expect them to try to attack again, especially tomorrow? You got a U.S. jobs report, which they normally attack. Yeah, but it's not going to work this time. And so you can expect them not to give up, right away. But if we're correct, it will not work. And it might be unpleasant for a few days or a week or two, whatever. But it's not going to work. We're going to go right back up again. This is the beginning of something spectacular.
Yeah, it feels like they might have painted themselves into a corner, because you've got, especially on silver, you've got the zinc mines and copper mines closing down, which is representative of 2/3 of silver production. Endeavor Silver, a primary silver producer, last week put out that they were going to reduce silver production by 25%. So, I mean, have they painted themselves into a corner where essentially they have so spectacularly killed this market, that they may have gone too far in the sense that now they've destroyed the geological supply and the physical supply.
That's exactly what they've done, and Dan. And it's again, after years of having to be so negative, it's finally good to see this change in process. Are they quitting right away? No. Yesterday, the open interest in silver went up an astonishing 7,000 contracts, which was the bad guys, the gold cartel, J.P. Morgan and allies, doing what they can still to prevent gold from getting above 15. It broke out a little bit, completing a base above 1450. But they are just doing all they can because silver, as you probably know, is their kryptonite. Once they lose control of silver, and they know this, it's going to go bonkers. And you're going to see that $100 silver that Eric Sprott talked about for some time. And it's liable to happen pretty, much quicker than people think because they're hitting the wall. I'd call it the tipping point. And they're going to fight and fight, but one of these days it's just going to blow up. And when we take out 1850, all heck's going to break loose. And there's just so many signs of what's coming, if I may. Just a couple of weeks ago, what they did to the HUI at 100. It went down for no reason, like 7 points. We went nuts. We said they're going after the stops because they're trying to cover all they can. And it didn't work. And we said, this is the bad guys in action. The HUI has gone up 40% since then. Then last week, you get this goofy silver fix at 1358, and they come up with all these reasons. It's 40 to 70 cents lower than where the price was. Another fluke? Right. And since then, silver's broken out, approaching 15 today. 2 flukes like that? No way. This is the bad guys in trouble.
Yeah, I remember in the movie The Big Short, a lot of the big institutions and funds, they were able to keep the bonds from falling apart, the subprime bonds, while they switched their position to being short. And I know Carl Icahn last year got into the gold mining shares. I know Stanley Druckenmiller, which he has a massive fund. 21% of it went into gold, although he got into the GLD. But I'm sure when you've got that big of a position, you can get the physical delivery if you need it. So you've got some of the big money over the past 6 months to a year switching into gold in a big way. And I wanted to know, I don't know if you follow how much you follow the miners, but Newmont's up 80% since September. Barrick's up 80% since September. Newmont's up 50%. Is that telling us anything when you see the two most liquid gold mining stocks rallying? I mean, just spectacularly.
Well, you know what they say. You know this better than I. They've talked about the shares leading the way, and that seems to be the case when it comes to those two companies you're talking about and some others. And, of course, the big seniors will go first, and the little guys, which have been decimated, will go last. But I tell this to my people, or pardon me, I give them my opinion that we're going to see the most historic move in history coming because of the way they were decimated. It's a little tiny sector. And and this is what the gold cartel, this is their worst nightmare, but it's coming. That when gold becomes, with other things, in such trouble, the go-to investment, gold and silver, all the money that's been created is out there, world. It's going to flow into our sector. We're not there yet, not even close. But when it comes, the moves in these stocks, and especially the juniors and explorations that are still left for dead in most cases, many cases, going to go bonkers. They won't be able to handle it. It'll be like the Wild West in the old days, and the old NASDAQ days and stuff like this. And it's coming. Maybe it's hard to envision now, but we're seeing the very beginning stages of it. Even technically, the bases in gold and silver and the HUI and the share, massive. And it could support giant moves, and it's coming. And dips are to be bought this time.
Bill, do you also follow like oil or the dollar index? Do those correlate into the overall scheme of things? I mean, with the cartel, obviously they're defending the dollar, but the dollar index seems to have turned as well. I mean, but you look at all the currencies in the world. All these currencies are at major lows. I mean, it really is economically, it looks like it's a deflationary moment. Is that just part of deception, or is that just the natural forces are deflation, but the central banks are trying to create inflation?
They got no choice, and you're right. I mean, it's a race to the bottom when it comes to the currencies. I mean, that's pretty clear. And then, yes, when you had this comment by the Fed's Dudley yesterday, which shook up the markets and got the dollar, going into the crap can, that's the Fed talking that things aren't so good. And for him to come out and make statements like that about what they're going to have to do, yeah, they're going to be forced to go back to their well again because they've got no choice. And there's a difference this time because quantitative easing has been bearish for gold. Fed, all the stimulus all over the world, and it shouldn't have happened. It's only because of the gold cartel that gold and silver are where they are. They should have been flying due to all the fiscal stimulus and monetary measures. But this time, when they do it, as you said earlier, they've overextended their welcome, and they're hitting the wall in the physical arena, and gold and silver are going to go nuts. And this is what they don't want, because when the price action, finally exposes what they're doing, I call gold the barometer of U.S. financial market health. They don't want it to go up. When it goes up, it means things are bad. When gold goes down, they say, okay, it's okay. So when gold and silver take off this time and really take off, they got a big problem because it's going to create incredible momentum and the world was going to come our way.
Bill, for available inventory in the COMEX, I know you've been following this for decades. What is the status with the COMEX and its availability of to be able to deliver actual metal? I know the last time I spoke to Eric Sprott, he said that he did think a COMEX default was in play, and he also noted that it was his dream, of course. But so he was also letting me know that it's something that he desperately wanted to happen, or he was hopeful that would happen. Do you think that? Well, first, what is your observation of the COMEX available inventory right now? Is it getting low enough to where you could have those cash settlements?
Well, cash settlements are probably inevitable. What's coming, and whether they call that a default or not, they'll come up with some excuse. But Eric's a lot smarter than I. Love the guy, and he just, top of the heap in my book. And it's hard to know what to answer the question because they change the numbers. They can move things around and what's real and not, and they can move something from here to there. Yeah, they're very low. And is it suggestive of what could be coming? Yeah. I mean, it can happen. A lot of these things that our camp has talked about for so long have not occurred. And all of a sudden, instead of the tipping point is here, they all can occur. You have backwardization in the metals, hasn't meant nothing. Supplies, nothing has meant anything. And all of a sudden it will. And that's the way it's going to go when the bad guys finally hit the tipping point and hit the wall.
What other signs are you seeing, Bill, that they may be losing control? I mean, I know you follow this thing literally like tick by tick, like no one else. You were even the first one to notice certain times of the day that it was almost a guarantee. It was going to get smashed at the open. It was going to get smashed around the close. I mean, just literally, like clockwork. Are you watching any of their attacks fail lately?
Absolutely, and thanks for bringing it up. And James McShirley, one of our guys who spoke at our London conference, in 2011 has been on top of the stuff, and he just noted today, how the market's going up 1% at a time, and they're trying to keep it at that every day to keep excitement to a minimum. They usually attack at 3 a.m. New York time. That hasn't worked of late. We had follow through today in the gold market after a good move. That has been one of their mantras, not to allow follow through. Again, keeping excitement to a minimum, having the market act contrary to what it should do based on the news. Yeah, little by little, they're falling apart. But as James said today, cheapest, we should have been up, 50 or $60 one of these days, and they're just there. And, they're retreating, and they're fighting this. But this time they've got a losing battle. Again, doesn't mean we can't have a good correction here, which, after the move we had, that would just be normal. But in my opinion, it won't work. But who knows? Maybe it's going to explode, whether it's soon or it's coming, and over the month ahead it's coming.
And then the Dow Jones, I know you focused on the precious metals, but I mean, here we've got the world's largest companies, and this damn thing, it'll go down 400 points in an intraday move now, possibly even close up, a few points with those type of moves. I mean, what is the dysfunction that's going on here?
Good word again, dysfunction. I mean, look what the bank stocks are doing with, stinking up the place, and Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse, garnering headlines. And as you've just mentioned, the rallies just aren't, the Dow and NASDAQ have been very oversold, and the rallies aren't working and they're working off the oversold condition, gradually. And there's a number in our camp that are talking about market collapses, and it could come at any time. What they've done to foster disinformation, prop up the markets with the plunge protection team, counterparty risk management policy group. It's gone on for so long, it's created just a complacency that, things are going to be okay again. Well, guess what? Don't think they're going to be okay again. They've stretched out too far, and they're hitting the wall. And that's going to add to the impetus to buy gold and silver, and, which are artificially too low. I mean, incredibly too low.
Bill Murphy of La Metropole Cafe. I'll definitely have the link for you guys. It's a paid letter. You can get Bill's analysis and other experts' analysis daily. See exactly what's going on in the global economy, macroeconomic analysis, and precious metals specifically. Also, GATA.org, GATA.org. It's a nonprofit organization. Bill Murphy is the chairman. You can also get plenty of news from GATA, but they definitely focus on the manipulation and price suppression, which, in the end, as evil and as fraudulent it is, it's creating quite an opportunity for investors today, being able to buy gold for a lot less than a lot of these miners can produce it, silver for less than they can produce it, because of the price suppression scheme. And then we're all in a situation now where we've got geological shortages coming and very tight supply. The cartel has suppressed it. GATA's tracked it closely. You can read about it at GATA.org. But more importantly, I would actually suggest you go to La Metropole Cafe, subscribe, and make sure you know exactly what's going on, because we are in unprecedented times, and you do not want to be taking your information from the mainstream. Bill, thank you so much for being on the show. You've been very generous.
You're the best, Dan. Thanks again. Anytime.